Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this Committee of Adjustment hearing to order. Before we get started, just going to go through the protocols for this evening. There are two properties on our agenda this evening. One's a continuation from last month. Just a couple of housekeeping rules for anyone that's in attendance. If you have cell phones, if you could please turn them off or place them on silent mode. And if you are coming up to ask questions, please, there's a podium on the right. Please address your questions through the chair and not directly to the person you're being asked of the question. The first order of business when we start will be to ask if there's any conflicts of interest with any of the applications on the agenda this evening. Following that, a request will be made for any deferrals or withdrawals of application on the agenda. The Secretary-Treasurer will then read out each application noted on the agenda with a brief description, staff recommendation. The applicant or the agent for the applicant will then be asked to come forward. There's a podium on my right, your left if you're in the crowd. Introduce themselves, be allowed a short overview explaining any further details or additional information they wish to bring forward at that time. Members of the committee will then have the opportunity to ask the applicant any questions that they might have. Following that, members of the public will then be asked to come forward to speak to any applications that they so desire. I'm not sure if we have anyone online for applications tonight, but then we can bring in anyone that's there. It should be noted that members of the public that wish to speak to an application when they come forward will need your name and address for the record. Try to limit your comments to 10 minutes and must present all questions and comments pertinent to that application in that time frame. Persons making presentation will not necessarily be allowed to return again to speak to the same application. Following all comments, the applicant will be afforded some closing comments if desired. The committee will then present a decision in the form of a motion. The motion will be discussed and voted upon. If a vote is tied, a motion will be defeated and a new motion will be made until a decision has been reached. Notices of decision will only be provided to those persons who leave their name and address in writing with the Secretary-Treasurer. Again, there's a sign-in page at the back of the room for those in attendance. For anyone that's watching online, you can email our Secretary-Treasurer at TARABA@portcolborne.ca, or you can call 905-228-8124 immediately following the hearing and leave a message requesting the same. So that's the process for this evening. I will first ask if there's any conflicts of interest. Eric.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have a conflict on item A23-24-PC. As I are declared in a pecuniary interest as I'm employed by Upper Canada Consultants, an agent for the applicant.
Thank you. Dave, you good?
Do I have to declare that I wasn't here at the excuse me, declare
No.
that I wasn't, so I'm not part of it
No.
at all? Okay.
No. Not seeing anything else. The one application that we'll be hearing tonight is a continuation of the last meeting. So I'm just going to skip that one for a second. And if there's any requests for deferrals of application on the first one, not seeing any. I'm assuming the applicant's here in the crowd. So, all right. So with that, we will go to the first application, please, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the agenda tonight, we have two minor variance applications. Notice of the applications were circulated to the public on August 28th and September 26th. The required agencies received notice of the applications on August 16th. A recommendation report for each application was prepared by planning staff and made publicly available on October 4th. All correspondence received by October 4th were addressed in the recommendation reports. Those interested can view the recommendation reports online on the city's website or in person at City Hall. Those interested may also contact planning staff in person, by email, or over the phone to obtain a copy of the reports. Accommodations for alternative methods of viewing or obtaining the recommendation reports are available upon request. Please note that the zoning bylaw currently in effect is the City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw 6575/30/18 as amended, which will henceforth be referred to as the zoning bylaw. Our first application tonight is minor variance application A2424PC for the lands municipally known as 1070 Brookfield Road, located in the Hamlet Residential Zone as established in the zoning bylaw. The agent Julian Allen, on behalf of the owners James and Janet Symes, are requesting relief from the provisions of the zoning bylaw to permit an accessory dwelling unit exceeding the maximum permitted square footage, notwithstanding the following. An accessory dwelling unit with a floor area of 95% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling be permitted, whereas a maximum floor area of 40% of the floor area of the principal dwelling is required. Given the information in the recommendation report, planning staff recommend application A2424PC be granted. As the application is minor in nature, it is appropriate for the development of the site, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan. That concludes the correspondence for this application.
Thank you. Is the applicant here this evening for this application? Feel free to come forward to the podium on my right, your left. There's a little red button in the middle of the gray bar that's on the table in the front. That will activate the microphone. Very good. Is there anything further you'd like to add at this time?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for hearing our application. Just a little bit of insight as to why we've applied for this application. My mother and I, we bought the property, 1070 Brookfield, in we moved in the middle of August, right next door to my brother. So trying to keep the whole family close and build an in-law suite on the existing garage that's there, hence the application there. So that drives the application, just so we can all be together, stay together.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions of the applicant? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, the applicant. So the garage itself will remain a garage and you're just building onto the back of it, or you're converting the whole thing?
The entire thing.
Okay. That I didn't. Just wanted to make sure, just the way you said it, I thought you were inferring that it was the garage and then you were going to add on to the back of the garage. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any members of the public that wish to speak to this application? Seeing any, we don't have anyone online, right? Very good. With that, Eric?
Through you, Mr. Chair, application A24-24-PC, concession 2, part of lot 11, part 1 of reference plan 59R 14222, formerly in the township of Humberstone, currently in the city of Port Colborne, located in the Hamlet residential zone, HR zone. The minor variance application A24-24-PC be granted for the following reasons. 1, the application is minor in nature. 2, it is appropriate for the development of the site. 3, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 4, it is desirable and in compliance with the general intent and purpose of the official plan.
Thank you. A seconder to that? Gary? Questions or comments? All those in favor? Be carried. Thank you. The next application is a continuation from last month's hearing that we adjourned. I will turn it over to the planner as she has some information she wishes to add. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to the committee, after we posted the agenda, the chair had pointed out some very valid points, and through our research into those points to determine if essentially if the variances are able to apply to the lots after the subdivision has been granted, we've decided that we are not 100% certain at this time, and we'd like to take an extra month to really dig into the case law behind situations like this, and just make sure that if this application comes forward as a variance, that the variance will apply when the application is granted and after the final approval of that plan of subdivision is granted as well. If we don't take this extra time to really research into this and make sure that we're doing this in the best possible way, the applicants would be opened up to the possibility of essentially getting that subdivision granted, having all of those lots be established, and then the variance is not applying at the end. And then they would need to apply for a variance for each individual lot, which obviously is not ideal. So we'd like to take this extra month to just research and make sure that if the variances are the best way forward, we proceed with the minor variance application. If not, we will go through the zoning bylaw amendment application, which we know for sure will work as intended. So, yeah, if there's any other questions on that, please let me know.
Very good. Angie, do you got any questions?
No, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Gary, got any questions? No, I'm good. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn to next month, or I can move a motion to adjourn to next month, whichever. Angie, you move the motion?
I will.
Very good. Gary, second? Yes. Any other questions or comments in favor of adjourning to next month? Angie, you in favor of adjourning to next month?
I am.
Thank you. Very good. So we'll sit adjourned until next month again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other business? Dave?
Through you, Chair. Can I just ask a question about Northland that doesn't have anything to do with it? Well, sort of, but not the decision. The red line revision.
Oh.
It only came up.
It is, yeah, I don't want to get into, I
Okay,
believe it is
sorry.
posted online, though. That drawing is posted online. so
Okay.
You can look at
Okay.
it there, if that's
Yeah,
what you're asking.
perfect, yeah, because I hadn't seen it, so.
Yeah.
That's all, thanks.
It is there, yeah. Okay.
It's interesting. I worry that when members of the public or neighbors who want to contact us, and we don't know what happens here at HQ, you could have a member of the public email us their delegation.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't come through your office, then I just worry that a member could be left off. And so, is it appropriate, even if we're all included, for actually the planning department to resend it so it comes through that one window approach?
Yeah, I think from that perspective, if someone emails or contacts a member directly, if it's an email, you can forward it to the Secretary of Treasury, she can redistribute it, or if it's prior to them writing the report, they could take it into consideration.
Well, it was all about making sure everybody hears the same story.
Yes.
Yes.
And typically, even though they may summarize it in their report, as part of the package, we usually get a copy of the email
Yes.
anyway that was sent
I
originally.
knew that was,
But yeah, if they.
sometimes it's last minute, sometimes it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
Otherwise, I guess the one thing I want to be careful of is, I hope they don't think they have to apply to appear like a council meeting to be a delegate.
Sure.
They can just show up at this meeting.
Yes.
And granted
Agree.
a say
Yeah.
at the hearing,
Yeah.
just to be quite clear. So, if they do that, then I would encourage them to contact the clerk just to make, or the Secretary of Treasurer to make sure that they're
I
recognized.
mean, in this
and-
case, everybody was copied, including probably people who had a conflict or weren't there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe it was extra, but I'm actually, it brought the thought process to mind that it could be an incomplete circulation, because the
Yes.
member of the public didn't know all the members, kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yep. Angie, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. I was on the same point. I received that same email, and I was concerned about it because it triggered something I had learned from training way back when, from early on Committee of Adjustment training. So I went back to see some of my old notes, and it was very clearly stated in there that all information coming forward to the members must come through the city staff, and that we should not be we should be disregarding anything that comes any other way, and we should not be speaking with members of the public outside of our actual meeting. So I was a little confused about that. I mean, I did read it. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. And at the same time, I thought, wow, this is kind of inappropriate. It should have come through city staff. So I just think that we should have a uniform way of dealing with it going forward. I agree with you, Gary. It has to be set up in a way that makes sure that we all get it, and we get it in a way that is legitimate, so that we don't have to ignore it.
Yeah, and if I will, to that point, I know we've had some discussions in the past about defining the committee's protocols with regards to communications and so on and so forth. We've touched on it, I think, in the past with regards to developing a committee procedural like I said, become a bylaw or whatever guideline, that either maybe staff, if they have some examples, can compare. I know there's some online that you can go on, especially on the OACA website. I think there's 3 different versions that they have there that you can use for
There is.
reference. Some might be overburdening compared to what we do or not, I don't know, but, or we can establish our own and put it forward, have a discussion, and although it's not necessarily, unless it becomes a bylaw or part of our terms of reference, could be used as the committee's guideline that we could post on the website and say, you know, put it there as well, and just like our terms of reference are there on the city website.
It
And
would
then that
just
way it's
make
clear
everything
and,
fair across the board.
yeah, and then that way
That's
it's
the idea.
exactly. Because I know we've had some discussions about that in the past. I'm sure there's a lot of other communities out there that already have some recognized versions of those that we can maybe plagiarize or borrow. It's not, like I say, I don't think it has to be too complicated, but could talk about all of these things and cover that very clearly, and then that way, if there's any dispute in the future, it's there for us.
Yeah.
Is there any other business? Gary?
Just a follow-up on that, sorry. I didn't really notice whether this happened, but it triggered me when Angie talked. So we, as committee members, get information. If it was straight to us, the appellant or the opponent, depending on who's sending it, may not see it until tonight, or see it at a different time, or you worry that, okay, we're all seeing it, but the other, the appellant see it. And so that's why I just thought that the clearinghouse, being the committee secretary, would ensure that they would also send it to the appellant or the defendant and whatever.
Yeah, I think in most cases, does that happen if we get correspondence ahead of the hearing? Does the applicant get a copy of public comments prior to if you get them? Yes.
Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's up to you. Okay. Through the chair to the committee, usually the process is whenever we get any comments or anything through me directly, I will forward them straight to you guys so that you can check them before the meeting occurs. And then should there be any concerns or anything that comes up, we address them either through the comments or anything that happens before the meeting occurs. And if anything needs to be elaborated further, we will get in contact with the applicant.
Okay, but it doesn't automatically go to the applicant as well? Public comments, like prior to the meeting?
I don't know what you mean by that, sorry.
So say someone sends an email, either to yourself or to one of the members, they forward it to you.
Yep.
Do you take that email and also forward it to the applicant prior to the meeting, so they're aware of the comment that was brought up?
Usually we do, I believe.
So at least if there's something that maybe can be addressed, that you can include that into the comments as well.
So you just don't hear at the meeting, the other
Yeah.
side says,
That's right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Because they might be able to prepare and come with a response to some of these concerns that people have as well.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to speak on that, Diana, but through the chair to the committee, from my understanding and my limited experience as well, usually what happens is any comments that we get will also be included in the planning report, and then the agenda as well, with any information redacted. That way it doesn't compromise the privacy of the person who submitted the comments. And anything from there will be kind of addressed to the applicant so that they can give a time to respond, and also, again, through the planning report and a part of the agenda so that people who are aware of the application can see the comments as well.
Perfect.
Actually, could you use a motion maybe? Could we just maybe move that a clear communication strategy be developed?
Sure, it
So that
sounds
we
like
do
you're,
have some kind of policy in place, something that we can go by and that keeps everything fair, above board, and open.
yeah, I don't have an issue with that, so if you're asking to move a motion to develop a committee not terms of reference, but protocol, I'm in favor of that, so is there a seconder to that? Gary? So with that, if everyone's aboard, so now do you want it to be the committee to draft something, or do you want to have our secretary treasurer kind of dig up a draft? Or I thought we started one a number of years ago, but
I think we probably did, but I think actually to leave this with staff because they're going to be the ones that are going to be that central clearinghouse, I would imagine. So let's be fair and let them come up with a way that makes it as straightforward as possible for them.
Okay, yeah, like, and even if you can find some other community that has a similar thing and then kind of weed it or put it into your layout and lingo and everything else, that would be great. So with that, any other questions, comments? Dave? Good?
Just real quick with sharing communication from the public to either the secretary treasurer or us, and then forward it to the applicant. It may speed up the process, because the applicant may have answers at the meeting that could satisfy the person who asked the question. And then we can move on, instead of having, I'm not sure, let me get back to you, I gotta research it, I gotta do this. It's, okay, let's go, we're all prepared for the meeting coming, and get everything out in the open, and let's move along. They might not like the answer that they're gonna get, but at least they're gonna get an answer because everybody's prepared to offer the answer to the question. So I like that, and then anything else that will speed up, meetings, I'm all for that, for sure.
Cool. So with that, if there's nothing else, all in favor of that motion, that'll be carried. And one more call, any other business? Not seeing any? Can I get a mover and a seconder for the September 11th committee member meeting? Gary, Angie, questions or comments? All in favor? That'll be carried. With that, I will adjourn our hearing till next month.